So to begin with, let's look at the 1911 A1. This is my TSOS 1911 A1. This is a replica of the sidearm that was carried by the U.S. military during World War II and all the way up until the mid-1980s and even some places beyond. This is basically the second version of a 1911. The original 1911, adopted by the U.S. military back in 1911, had a few differences from the 1911 A1. One of the most notable is, of course, going to be the mainspring housing. The original mainspring housing did not have the arch that the 1911 A1s did, as well as a few other changes as well. You know, you can see online there are a few differences between the 1911 and the 1911 A1, and true collectors relish those guns, those original 1911s. I do not have one. I would like to have one. Currently do not, but for now what I do have is the TSOS 1911 A1. Great replica of that gun. There's very few differences between this firearm and an original. And of course, the value of this gun is one it's not very expensive, but it is fun to shoot. It's well worth the nostalgia if you are into 1911s, and you will get the hammer bite. You know, if you are shooting this firearm and if you're not careful about that grip, you will get a little bit of hammer bite. I mean, that's just how authentic that this gun is. And this is the gun, as I mentioned earlier, that has been the sidearm of the U.S. military since World War II all the way up until the mid-80s. Now what I wanted to take a few minutes to show you is the last official 1911 to serve the military. This is my TSOS Raider. Okay, yes, it's another TSOS, but it is a clone of the Colt B45 1911, and it was carried by the U.S. Marines. There was a unit within the U.S. Marines that actually carried this gun, or I should say the Colt version of this gun. Those guns are very highly sought after, and they are very expensive. But of course, this is one that is much more budget friendly, and it shows some of the changes that has happened over the years, you know, just from what the military used. Of course, this one has a rail. The original A1 does not. We also see the beaver tail that would kind of help protect you from that hammer bite. There are also some upgrades in the sights, and of course, I believe that the Colts have a Trigicon sight on them. Of course, these are just a standard 3-dot, being a replica. Okay, it does have the front slide serrations, and I enjoy shooting this gun. In fact, I have carried this gun before. This is one of the guns that has been in my carry rotation when I would choose to carry a 1911, just because it is so reliable and it is very accurate, and I really enjoy shooting it. I really enjoy shooting all of these guns. But that is just a brief summary of how it has been with the military versions. Okay, there's other changes that happened to the 1911s over the years, even going into the civilian market. And early on, one of those changes was, of course, that beaver tail. Of course, this is my Rock Island. This is a gun that I've had for years. Very enjoyable to shoot. You can see these custom grips. You know, they necessarily didn't come with a grip like this, but it was a very common thing for people to change the grips. You know, you had the aftermarket manufacturers, Craftsman and stuff like that, that would make custom grips early on to fit the 1911s. Okay, of course, with the beaver tail, you would see upgrades in sights and things like that. Just subtle changes at first. Some of those guns, when they came out, had very sharp edges. They're again going back into like the 60s, 70s and that sort of thing. And there were custom gun makers at that time. One thing that they would do is what they called melting. You know, some of the guns would be almost like a box of razor blades, And some of these custom gun makers would go in, they would smooth out the corners, they would kind of polish things down and make them to where they were much more enjoyable to shoot and would not cut you up the way that some did. Of course, you know, that was something that did happen very early on with some guns. You started to get a lot of custom gun makers into the field. Some of the most well-known, you know, there's Wilson Combat back in the, I think, 70s or so. You had others. You had Dan Wesson and so on. Just a lot of guys out there that would take an old Colt in many cases, customize it, and make it work for them. Of course, another evolution that we've seen in the 1911 over the years is the shorter barrel, something more aligned for a carry gun. You know, you see the traditional 5-inch barrel, but then they started coming out with shorter commander length barrels and things like that that would make them much more carryable. You know, they would also make them a little bit lighter, just not having that additional metal on the end of that gun. And of course, depending on the manufacturer, just like all 1911s, you would have some that would be more reliable than others. And this, of course, is my TSOS stainless. This is the gun, the 1911, that I have carried probably more than any other. This gun has shown itself to be very reliable, and of course, you know, I do have a set of lock grips on it. These are the palm swells. Very comfortable grips. And the gun has been reliable, very reliable. It's shown itself to be reliable, and it just looks good. You know, that's just something about this gun in particular as well. It looks good. You know, that's another thing too. We started getting into more custom looking guns. Of course, this having that stainless steel, just kind of that brushed finish. There are others, you know, that would start doing custom paint work and things like that on them. Scroll work. Now, I don't have any that has any scroll work done on them. Those are typically very expensive to get some of those that are out there. But you can see it's just another feature that people would have on their guns, and it was just another change that we would see within 1911s. Now, you can get a little other fancier. You know, you would have a lot of different ones that would come out with some very custom looking guns. Of course, this is my Gerson Negotiator. You can see the lightning cuts on this. You can see kind of the gold accents on the gun, the design that is on the trigger. It has the target sights that are adjustable, and you know, you have a fiber optic front sight, and of course all of the accents, and even the barrel. You know, that's something about this gun as well. Okay, the barrel is even gold plated. You can see that there. You know, the barrel bushing, and it's just all of these features that were added to make these guns look good. Of course, early on you had the mag wells as well. That was something that was intended to help facilitate faster reloads, especially for competition shooters, and that is something that is again part of the evolution of the 1911. Okay, and this is just a broad overview of a lot of things, a lot of little things that happen. And where we are at today and where the 1911 is going in the future, and this is just purely my opinion. You know, one of the criticisms about the 1911 for a lot of folks has been the capacity of those guns. The other thing is the weight, because these guns can be very heavy. You know, if you don't like carrying a heavy gun, this might not be your best option. However, with the changes that we are seeing within materials, within manufacturing and things like that, what we are really starting to see is some new kids on the block. Of course, the 2011, or in this case, the Gerson 2311. This is one that I was after for a while as soon as I heard that they were coming on the market. Traditionally, a lot of your 2011s, your SDIs and things like that, they are very expensive and are well out of the budget for your average shooter. You know, but we are seeing manufacturers coming out with much more affordable 2011 style firearms. 2011, 1911s, I guess you could say. You know, it is a double stacked. Of course, this one is in 9mm, but you can get it in 45 as well as other calibers as well, even 10mm. And that's another change that we see as well. Yes, we've seen 9mm and a few other calibers over the years throughout the evolution of the 1911. 30 Super. A lot of those calibers were geared toward competitive shooting and things like that. Of course, an additional change that we see, optics. We are starting to see many more newer model 1911s and 2011s that come with an optics cut, and in many cases an optic already installed on that firearm. The ambi safety, the grips, and just a lot of other things. Of course, with the light rail, which we did see in firearms such as the TSOS Raider, you know, we see the rail here on it. Of course, the Colt that was carried by the Marines, it had the rail as well. There are a lot of other manufacturers out there that put these rails on them, on the guns for accessories such as a light. You know, it's people have learned very early that having a light on your firearm can be very useful in certain situations. And of course, with the changes in manufacturing, the weight of this gun in particularly is probably much more, I guess you could say, along the lines of a full size. Just picking these two guns up and feeling them, but the full size does still feel slightly heavier. Now, one thing about it, the magazines on these are all unloaded. And of course, with this gun, we're talking 8 round, well, 7+1 or 8+1, depending on the magazine that you're using, in 45 ACP. Whereas this gun, you know, we have plenty of room for 9mm, full 17 rounds in this particular gun. Now, when you load those magazines up, of course, it is going to add to the weight. But this is obviously the direction that we are seeing the technology and the platform going, in my opinion. There's a lot of folks out there that love the traditional 1911. I'm one of them. That's why I have so many, is what you see here. But the 2011 is obviously the new kid on the block. This is something that has satisfied that itch for the 1911 lovers as far as how that trigger works. You know, it has that crisp break for some models of your 1911s. And of course, that is something that the 1911 is known for, is that crisp trigger break, that single action trigger. And we are seeing more manufacturers coming out of it. As of the time that I'm recording this video, I know of at least 2 more manufacturers that are going to be releasing 2011 style double stack 1911s within the next few months, shortly after SHOT Show. TSOS has one coming out. I am really looking forward to getting my hands on one of those if possible, because as you can tell, I like TSOS 1911s. I think that they are a very good quality firearm. You know, the Gersons, this gun, I like these guns. I think that they are very good guns. I've not had any issues with them. But as far as fit and finish, I do believe that the TSOS has a much more solid fit and finish to their guns. So I really look forward to seeing that double stack come out from TSOS. But who knows? Hopefully I can get one and get it on the channel for you guys. If you want to see that gun on this channel, let me know down in the comments below. And plus, that activity helps the algorithm pick up these videos and spread it to others. So I would really appreciate that, guys. And obviously that's what funds me being able to bring you guys this kind of content, just showing you these guns, shooting these guns, and that sort of thing. But guys, like I had mentioned earlier, I've got videos on all of these guns, and I'm going to link them down in the description below. I would appreciate it if you would share this video, and I'm doing a little bit of an experiment on this video as well, just as far as how I'm formulating it, how I'm doing the description and all of that. And I would appreciate it if you guys would share this video, because I'm trying to help that YouTube algorithm get through some of my videos to more people. That way we can kind of help grow the channel and bring you guys more of this kind of content. But guys, I hope you liked the video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you got any questions or anything like that, drop them down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Check out all of the videos on my channel. Check out all of the videos that are going to be linked down in the description. Check out the playlist. And guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.